Welcome to Smart Route, the podcast by Call Tracking Metrics, where you'll hear stories from businesses at the intersection of marketing, customer experience, and sales. We're sitting down with business leaders and industry experts to dive deep into the path they took to find success. Here's your host, Andrew Clark.
Hey everyone, this is Andrew Clark with Smart Route Podcast, back with another episode. And today we have a rising influencer, at least in my own opinion, in the B2B marketing space, Tim Davidson. He is the founder and CEO of B2B Riz, which we will get into the name. I have to hear the origin story of it. But Tim has been working with Call Tracking Metrics as well, helping really take our LinkedIn ads to the next level. Just quick, plug for what you do. We'll get right out, in the beginning of the episode. But just thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, Tim. I know you're a busy man. You're doing a lot of content creation as well, on top of running a business. So, wanted to just open the episode by allowing you to introduce yourself and what you're all about.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I'm very excited. But yeah, like you said, founder, CEO. I'm also the CFO, marketing, sales. I do everything. It's a one-person company, but of B2B Riz, which is LinkedIn Ads consulting for B2B SaaS. And yeah, like you mentioned, I've been creating content mostly in the B2B marketing sales space for a few years now, especially on LinkedIn. And it's been a very interesting ride. It's allowed me to create the business, allowed me to travel and do all these things. So I'm very excited to talk. I love these type of episodes.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think, as you mentioned, you've been leading your own company, but obviously everybody has an origin story, and we love good stories and professional careers, especially ones that wind. So I'd love to start out just asking about, how'd you get started in this space? What led you to a career in marketing?
So funny enough, I don't know how far you want to take it back, but in college, I actually went to school for biology. So I wanted to be a zoologist. I wanted to kind of train hyenas and lions and things like that. Loved it. But I couldn't pass biology or any of those science kind of classes. So I took the easiest classes I can find, which is business and marketing. And I ended up falling in love with it. I ended up, still training people to buy, but it's just in a different, still training things, but it's just in a different way. But out of college, I was in sales for a couple, selling. I was actually selling the phone book. I was selling Valpak, which is the little coupons book that you get in the mail sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I was not good at sales. I actually got let go from those two jobs and found my way into the agency world. I started off in a couple different things. I was in a PR agency. I was in a local marketing agency where I really kind of dove into like paid ad side of things. I was, doing marketing for lawyers and HVAC companies and anything and everything that was just kind of a local business, especially with Google ads and LinkedIn ads and Facebook ads. But from there, I ended up coming into B2B, just happenstance. I just found a company that I liked that was from out of California. And I started working in the B2B marketing space and just started creating LinkedIn content just as part of that kind of job. And this was probably 2020 that I started creating content. And that really kind of took everything to the kind of next level because I started to meet a lot of different people, learn a lot of new skills in the B2B space, and really allowed me to create a business after 4 years at that agency. And now I've been in business for about a year and 4 months, and it's been one of the best decisions of my life.
That sounds incredible. And what you're saying about starting out as a biology major, I actually share the same story. Did the same thing, thought I was going pre-med, and then quickly found chemistry was not my thing. Just decided I'm going to make a pivot as well. But I'm happy I did. because it led me here, and I feel like it's probably one of the best decisions in my life. Um, but yeah, I'm curious, when you were starting out in school, starting to take these classes in business and marketing, what were the things that you were most drawn to? I know you mentioned you like engaging with people. You feel like you're training people to buy in this in this instance, but yeah, originally, what drew you into this field?
So funny enough, just to be completely honest, the reason I picked it was because it was the easiest that I thought. Just because I was playing sports at the time, playing lacrosse, and
Cool.
when you fail a class, you can't play. So I was
Right.
like, all right, let me find the easiest thing I can find. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. But to your point, one of the classes I did like the most was psychology. It was one of
Hmm.
the most interesting things, and then how it tied into marketing, and then it was just how people buy and how people react to things are very, very interesting to me. And I love those kind of little nuances, and especially even when you're testing things. Like I've tested things where you have an ad that has misspelling versus not, and it's so interesting. Like what would convert better? Like the misspelling one converted way better.
That's
Like
surprising to
those type
me.
of things are so interesting to me.
Mhm.
I just love the psychology behind it, and that's one of the classes that I really liked. Um, all the other ones, they were great and all, and it helped me kind of learn, all the basics and all the things about marketing. But psychology was one that I really loved, and I've even just when I kind of read books, I like to read a lot of science and psychology around it. I'm really into like space and dinosaurs and stuff. I'm still kind of like a little kid, but that stuff's just super interesting to me.
That's super cool to hear. And you also had mentioned, as you're outlining where you kind of cut your teeth, you had a series of jobs that you said you got let go from. How did you decide to bounce back and say, no, I'm going to continue in this field? Because I think a lot of people would just say, okay, this isn't for me. I'm just going to move on to do something else.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I went to school for business and marketing, and I like the marketing side. I knew I
Mhm.
wasn't going to be in sales like that. I'm not. That's not my personality. I'm not someone that's going to follow up with you a million times. It's just not. I'm not a cold caller. But when you're starting off, and you don't have much experience. Uh, that's one of the easiest ways to get into marketing. So I was like selling marketing services essentially, right? I was
Right.
selling Valpak, I was selling the phone book, which they had some digital marketing at the time because it was 2016 at the time. I mean, they had to.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I kind of went in those is because I had to get my foot in the door somehow. And
Mhm.
so allowing me to sell those services did allow me to learn about digital marketing, learn about Google Ads, learn about the phone book and how people, why local businesses use coupons and all that stuff. Like all that was very valuable for me to learn. I was just not, especially at that young age, I've gotten a lot better at sales because I have to be. But I was just not someone I was going to cold call. Like I'm a very scared type of person in that sense.
For sure. Yeah, I'm much the same way. Like, as much as I'm doing content creation like this, podcasts, videos, whatever, I'm like, yeah, you give me a cold call to make, I'm probably going to be sweating bullets.
Yeah, calling a
But
pizza shop makes me sweat. If I can't order online, I'm just not ordering. Like that's how it is.
for sure. And, you also mentioned you then went to work for a series of agencies, were working in these bigger institutions and companies. At what point, if there was a point in which you decided, hey, I just think I'm better going off on my own, and what led you to that decision?
Yeah. So at some point, I always thought I would go out on my own. It wasn't. I always had that kind of. I always had like little side jobs, like little, sometimes it would just be maybe just a local company that I would work with on their Facebook ads or something like that. In like 2018, 19, and even when I was at the agency, before going on my own, I always had a couple of side clients. So I thought I always would do it. I am, risk averse. Don't get me wrong. So like
Mhm.
that always scared me to go on it fully. But after 4 years, just building that kind of all the content I've built on LinkedIn and the relationships I built from that, I just felt a lot more comfortable um, being able to go on my own. And so like this is again a year and 4 months ago. January 2024. I just decided I'll give it a shot. We're having our first baby. Perfect timing, right?
Yeah.
And at the very least, I thought if it doesn't work, I can just go back on my own. I
Hmm.
can go and find another full-time job. Uh, and luckily, I built that kind of LinkedIn content and brand there. And when I went out, it worked really well. And don't get me wrong, some days I want to go back full time.
Hmm.
It's always ups and downs. But I think it's something I've always wanted to do. And one day I just decided I'm going to take a shot. And if I miss, I can always find another full time job.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, out of all the platforms, and maybe this seems a little obvious, given your company's name of B2B being in it, um, did you, like, when you were evaluating if you wanted to open your own company, was LinkedIn always going to be it, or was it just one of many considerations?
So the reason I went that way, and I could have went paid ads. I could have went
Hmm.
Google ads. Like I have a lot of experience with Google ads and Facebook and all that. The reason I went that way is I wanted to go niche. And when I was at the agency, it was a B2B marketing agency.
Hmm.
So one of the things that we found very hard to do was hire people with LinkedIn ads experience. So we were always hiring people, right? And we found people that had Google ads experience, Meta experience, Reddit, all that. LinkedIn ads was very rare to find that experience. So I saw kind of also an opportunity there. But also that's what I was, doing. Like if at the agency, that's what I kind of fell in love with. So if they had when I was working on the client side, if they had a client that was spending most of their money on LinkedIn ads, they'd call me. Like that was because I fell in love with that kind of platform. But yeah, just deciding to do that was I saw the opportunity because there were just not a lot of people with LinkedIn ads experience, um, and just I wanted to go niche and try it out. I also thought I could always expand out if I need to.
Hmm. And what about LinkedIn specifically do you love the most?
I just love the granularity of the targeting and the options there, right? It's like there's no other platform where you can target the specific company with this specific company size, this specific title that has this interest, and get in front of them and with video, image, carousel ads, all those things. I just love the granularity of it. It's there's no other platform like it.
And I mean, I think this nicely dovetails into what you're doing more recently with the company is you're creating a lot of great content on the platform. I was clued into it by a teammate of mine here at Call Tracking Metrics, and I was just like, oh my gosh, here's somebody that's being super honest, very, but still with a sense of humor about everything, which, in my experience of B2B marketing is usually absent, which is disappointing. But I think you bring some levity to this industry. And um, I mean, like, what's been sustaining you as a content creator and that side of your business? Because you even referenced it a little bit ago. There are days where you're just like, yeah, I would prefer to go back to a full time job. And on top of it, being a newish parent, I'm somebody with a 4-year-old daughter, so I can empathize.
Yeah. So from the content, this is gonna sound so weird, but the first thing that really not took off, but like helped me out and figure out like my where I can really find the content that's gonna kind of resonate with people was videos. I started off with just text only and images, right? And the problem with that was I was just running out of creativity. Like the things I was talking about was just it's all text only, right? And then uh, one day, with your phones, you can do anything these days. It's crazy. I just started playing around with the video editor there and just creating a couple of videos. They're like skits. They'd be like
Mhm.
me in a marketing shirt, me in a sales shirt, and I would just kind of do like a skit there. And those did pretty well. And so I just kind of went with those. I just started testing like text versus videos, and people would start to see my personality more. And I'm not perfect. I've said so many times in this, and I think people
It's
kind of
all good.
resonate with that.
Mhm.
And I have a different, like you mentioned, kind of like a humorous, like a little bit of like a levity there, and um, so being able to bring my personality into those videos has helped me like it just helped me kind of like stick out because there's tons of LinkedIn ad agencies. It's just more of
Mhm.
like people resonate with the things I'm talking about because I have a different kind of personality. Everyone does. And I'm just able to show that in video. And so like, even if I do text or image or video, it's just the personality that I've leaned into. And I think that's the worst. That's not the worst. That's worked the best for me because it can be personable. It can be honest. Um, it can be too honest sometimes, to be honest. Weird way to say that. But it's just, I think I'm just leaning into the personality side of it and the little
Mhm.
quirks that I have.
Yeah, and I would say that has been just something that I really admire in the content I've seen of you. I think one of the first videos I saw was you out shoveling snow talking about B2B marketing. I was like, all right, this is the type of content I want to consume on LinkedIn because it does stand out from everybody else who's just like super serious, trying to sell you something directly. And you know, I think also what I've seen of you on LinkedIn and what I just know of you from other people is you're expanding out in a wider network of other people doing similar stuff, but you're collaborating with them. I'd love to talk about the YouTube series that you've launched, or I guess is it a relaunch technically?
I think it's officially launched.
Officially
I
launched
think what
now.
you're saying
Okay.
is we so Taz, who is my co-host on that, Taz Bober, she and I have been recording for like 15 months, and we just started to put out episodes. Like it's been that long.
That's very cool. And how did that come about? Were you guys just kind of in the same orbits and it was like, hey, do you want to do this together?
Actually, yeah, very similar. So she's also she does landing pages for B2B, and so she's a one-person shop there. And when I was going out on my own, she kind of reached out one day and was just like, "I did this, I went out on my own as well." And we just had just like a networking call. We just kind of hopped on Zoom
Mhm.
together, and we just started talking about business stuff, and then one I can't remember who said it, but one of us like we should just record this conversation because there was like we were laughing and they're like we were having like some funny debates and things like that, and we are just like we should just record this. This has been funny content, and um and then I think like a light bulb went off our heads. We're like, should we like create a show or a podcast or something like that? And then we just kind of had recurring calls and we were trying to figure it
Mhm.
out together. Like, all right, what should the podcast be about? What should the show be about? What should we even do? We started off with just like lame classic like, oh, here's how to do landing pages and LinkedIn ads and all that stuff, which, there's tons of those podcasts out there. Um, and then, like I mentioned, 15 months in, I think probably 8 months in, we we started to figure out like what we liked talking about, what was good topics, and it's still early, so it's not to say that people will love it, but the feedback's been good so far. But it's basically like TMZ, but for B2B. So talking about
Yep.
like the Rippling deal kind of fiasco, or weird things that are LinkedIn, or weird B2B kind of drama or stuff like that. We're having some guests on and stuff too, but it was just a lot of classic try and see what we like, and kind of iterate until you figure
Mhm.
out what we'd want to do.
Yeah. No, I think and everything you said comes through when you watch an episode, which we'll make sure to link to. Um, yeah, because it really does come across as two friends who are just sitting having a talk, and we're just kind of a fly on the wall. And also, I love that while it is high production value of like you guys take it seriously, it's not just like hey, a Zoom recording and we just throw it up. There's a little more behind it, which is really awesome. But yeah, you guys again, the sense of humor that's brought in into the B2B spaces, I think what sets you both apart. Um,
That's what we leaned into, actually,
yeah.
which is funny. We're like, at the very least, we could just be like the personality podcast, and like people might like us because of that. It's just like, all right, obviously we got to bring some topics and stuff like that, and we do our
Mhm.
research, and now people come to us with topics, but at the beginning we are like, we could just be the personality podcast and see what happens.
That is for sure. And I mean that I think that's still very cool unto itself. And I think just having it stand out, I feel so repetitive here, but I can't say enough that you guys have personalities that stand out from the crowd. And it comes across very genuinely. It's not like, oh, I'm putting on a face to appear this way to other marketers and attract new business. Like, I'm sure you're thinking about how can I use this maybe to get people interested in what I do, but at the same time, it's like, no, I'm just doing something because I find it cool. And I wish more people would take that with marketing and stop thinking constantly about can I attach ROI to it.
Yeah, so that's something I didn't mention earlier when you were like, what
Mm-hmm.
kind of content works? I think one thing that's always worked for me is it actually kind of ties back to the sales thing. I'm not good at pitching. I'm not someone that's gonna pitch on every post. I'm not gonna just pitch you on a call. Like I'm not that good at that. Um, and so one thing that's worked well for me is just creating content that kind of educates or just brings value, whatever that looks like. That could be educational. That could be just comedy. That could be whatever it is. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and just with no call to action, no thought that there needs to be an ROI on it. That's worked really well for me. And so when we're kind of thinking about these type of topics and especially the show, there's no tie-in to our businesses at all. But I
Mm-hmm.
also know that people talking about the show or people listening to the show, just listening to us, is going to bring value to the business at some point. But even if it doesn't, I don't care. I'm not going to track it like that. It is
Yeah.
fun, and luckily we don't need it to drive the business. It's not that expensive either, so it's not like um, there's a cost, big cost barrier there either. So we try to make it very low cost, just so we don't have to tie the ROI to it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, and take this however you want. Of like, what do you see as the future of something like this YouTube series? Um, do you see it growing into something bigger, or are you just content to kind of keep doing what you're doing, and like you said, just see what resonates with the community, and then adapt on the fly?
Yeah. So the funny thing, I'm not the best at like long term goals. Either is Taz, luckily. Uh, so the answer is we don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, I think we're just going to keep doing it because there's so much content and it's already evolving. We've got guests now, and we've had sponsors reach out. There's things like that too. It's just um, eh, like everything, it'll probably change. It's just I have no
Mhm.
idea what it's going to change into. The goal of it is just to have fun right now and then see what happens. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think we both, but me and Taz both have personalities that are not like we never want to like be stale. Like we don't want to be stale or just stagnant. Like we always want. I mean, look, we're going to say, oh, we need 1 million subscribers, but we do want to grow the subscriber base and people listening to it. So although all those things we do look at just as marketers.
Sure. Absolutely. And as you've been creating this content, other forms of content on your own, what are a couple of pieces of advice to people who are looking to do more of this themselves? How do you recommend kind of getting started and again sustaining it?
I think one thing that helped me in hindsight, like if I really thought about what would have helped me, is that if whatever you post, if people don't like it, if it sucks, no one's gonna see it. So you should just post something to see what resonates, and you also don't know what's gonna kind of resonate with your audience or whoever you're trying to get in front
Mhm.
of. It's really is. There's trends and there's things you'll see that are like, oh, this works pretty well every single time. But I think you'd be surprised what will work well versus not. A lot of people get hung up on saying the same thing as others, or get hung up on people looking at it and like kind of judging it and leaving a bad comment. LinkedIn is the platform where you'll get the least bad comments. I can promise you that. And I say that because I've posted the same stuff on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Reddit. Oof, those other platforms are brutal. Absolutely brutal. I
Hmm.
cannot stand them because I like them as a consumer, but I cannot continually watch the comments on those as brutal. Uh, just I know this is terrible. Like this is the most standard advice, but it really is just about starting and posting something that you can keep going with. It can be personal, like in terms of like, so say you're a marketer. I think one of the things that has helped me is being able to post certain stats and how I got to those stats, both good and bad. Because that'll just give you insights on what people ask questions about, what people don't, and that's where the flywheel effect happens, because you'll start to see what people care about, or what people want to know more about, or not.
Right.
If you get no kind of comments on it, then you know not to kind of play with that. Like that's fine.
Sure.
That's also good feedback. Um, it's one of those platforms you'll get good feedback if you just try and try different things.
That's cool. And yeah, I've noticed that the haters do not really live on LinkedIn as much.
They're there. Don't get me wrong. They are there. It's this weird. I've talked about this with people before. There's this weird, like, you post something and you'll get to a certain reach number of like the people that know of you that might there. So it's gonna be good comments, and then you get
Hmm.
to like this weird. I call it like the open to work slash people that are there just to hate on people world.
Hmm.
And then you just get these like weird comments, don't understand the joke, or they just hate on everything. It doesn't matter what you put out there, they're gonna look at the bad side of it. They're on there. It's just a different threshold than like the other platforms.
That's all good to know. I never knew about some of that, so I'll keep that in mind. Not that I'm looking to go into content creation on LinkedIn, but
You should.
it's just good information. No, I'm good.
It's fair. Honestly, it's fair. It's not for everyone. I will say, and I've talked about this a couple times, is it's there's days like it's changed my life, but it's not for everyone. You don't
Mhm.
need to do it. Some If you're on LinkedIn, everyone will say, "Oh, you need to do it." You don't. You really don't.
Yeah,
It's very time consuming. It can be very annoying. Like you don't need to do it.
sure. And I'm curious, how are you balancing this with being, a newish parent?
Oh, it's
Like,
tough. It's
I,
it's very hard.
because some of the videos we've seen, your son or daughter featured, off to the side, obviously, but uh, I'm like, the one I saw of you, I think, cutting fruit, which I have to ask,
Yeah.
that'll be the final question of the show, of eating a rind, when I've never seen somebody do that. But, how do you incorporate and kind of weave family life into running a business, doing the content creation side of things?
So being able to run my own business, luckily, I mentioned I'm a one person shop. I do have
Yep.
virtual assistants. So I have two virtual assistants that take away pretty much everything that's not client work from me. So that's like,
Mhm.
finance stuff, billing, all that, like email management, all that. So luckily that does help. But I mean, luckily I built a business where I can work less than when I was in full time. So I'm allowed to, pick up my son at a certain time from daycare, and not have to, travel to work before he goes to daycare. Like there's all that stuff
Mhm.
that's been very helpful for that. Um, but to your point, I mean, some of the videos I've been able to multitask. Like I'll
Yeah.
shovel the driveway and create videos.
Yep.
I'll take care of my son and create videos and actually cut fruit for him. Like the fruit is it's for me too, but cut fruit for the family while
Mhm.
creating his videos. They do take more time, but the combination of it, if I had to do them separately, takes less.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, what inspired you to take a big bite out of a fruit rind? Which, again, we'll have to link the video because it does make sense out of context. But uh, it was, I think, a hot topic on LinkedIn for a little bit. So I got to hear the backstory.
The That's what I call, like, I guess you can call it like an Easter egg. I like for my
Hmm.
videos, I like to leave usually something that's a little out there to see what kind of the reaction is. That could be eating the
Okay.
rind. Sometimes I'll cut fruit with kiwis, and I've actually gotten comments where people say, "Just eat the skin," and so I'll eat the skin and see what happens. I don't like it, to be honest. Some people love it for whatever reason. But and I'll just I'll eat the skin.
Mhm.
Um, I like to leave Easter eggs sometimes, just to see what the kind of reaction is. See if people catch it, I guess.
Mhm. I think that's super cool, and yeah, I think that's a marketing tip that could be implemented. Make sure you're, yeah, drafting a cohesive narrative that recalls things from the past.
Content still has
Um,
to be good. You can't just leave Easter eggs out. So.
right, yeah. But Tim, we're approaching the top of the show, and I just wanted to thank you for coming on. I know you're a busy man, and where can people find you and follow you? Uh, LinkedIn, obviously, but uh, is there any other channels that people should be checking out?
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the biggest one. If you type in Tim Davidson, I have a blue background, glasses on. You'll see my face there. And then b2briz.com. That's my website. There's also links out to my LinkedIn profile as well. So, and it's yeah, B2B, B number 2, BRIZZ.com. But those are definitely the two best places.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to link them in the show notes. And thanks again for being here today. And thank you to our listeners. We'll see you next episode. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Smart Route Podcast. Share your favorite takeaways with us on Twitter at Smart Route Pod. Smart Route is brought to you by Call Tracking Metrics, and you can find more at calltrackingmetrics.com/podcast. Follow along for ideas and conversations that will inspire your own business path forward. Speaking of smart paths, are your marketing, sales, and service teams on the same page? In today's remote world, it's easy to get disconnected. Call Tracking Metrics can help. We empower smart marketing teams to determine the best route for campaigns by showing exactly which ad campaigns are driving conversations that convert. Operational teams can use that data to automate call flows and power contact center success. Visit calltrackingmetrics.com to see why more than 100,000 customers around the globe trust Call Tracking Metrics to manage communications for their marketing, sales, and service teams.